If you've been around kids, you know they're fascinated by outer space. And on today's episode, we're going to chat with someone who's been to space and is providing resources and an incredible opportunity for 8 to 12-year-olds in the United States.
Welcome to the STEM Everyday Podcast. Each episode features educators sharing their practical ideas to put more science, technology, engineering, and math into every classroom every day. For show notes and more information, visit dailystem.com. Here's your host, Chris Woods.
Well, educators, I'm so excited to welcome to the show today Sharon Hagel. She's a businesswoman turned STEM education advocate. She's the founder of Space Kids Global, which is dedicated to introducing elementary kids to the space industry, to be more than just astronauts. And believe it or not, she's also been in space. Welcome to the show today, Sharon Hagel.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm so excited. You actually got to go up on one of the Blue Origin rockets, right?
Yes, and boy, was that a spectacular view.
Yeah, and that was Crew 4, that was NS-20 on March 31st, 2022. And you got to launch, but you were already interested in space. You had already started this Space Kids Global to start helping kids get excited about the space industry, right?
That's correct. Actually, we had an opportunity to sign up originally with Richard Branson's group, Virgin Galactic.
Mm-hmm.
And it was through talking with Richard that actually got us thinking about forming Space Kids Global. Richard always said, if your goals don't scare you, they're too small. And I took that to heart. Mm-hmm. And so as I started Space Kids, no one was really focusing on elementary school kids at that time.
Yeah.
And that was almost 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And what we've learned through going into these schools or speaking through Zoom is that kids that age think the only job in the space industry is an astronaut.
Right.
And we need to change the message because everything we have here on Earth, we're going to need there off planet.
Yeah. And a lot of what you got to experience just that little bit for that one moment in time up in space as part of that Blue Origin rocket, you're trying to transfer to show kids, yeah, you've got to learn about all these different skills to prepare you for that. And really, you're also trying to help educators figure out what they need to do to be more successful, to be teaching those kids.
Chris, about 10 or 11 years ago, I ran across an article, the International Educational Forum, and where the U.S. used to be in the top 5, mm-hmm. we have now dropped to 38th in math and 43 in science out of 71 countries.
Yeah.
We need to do something. We've got to get these kids interested in STEAM or STEM, mm-hmm. because if not, technology is changing so quickly, they're going to be left behind. Yeah. The system in the school, and I'm not talking about everyone because there's some schools that have made the adjustments and the leaps, but it was designed back in the industrial era. And what we try to do at Space Kids is make learning fun again by having hands-on projects, by sending science projects to the ISS, by having essay competitions on why I want to go to space. And with our partnership with Zero G, we're able to let those kids have an opportunity to fly like an astronaut.
Yeah. And in fact, Sharon, you just mentioned Space Kids Global has this great opportunity to get some kids to help be the press squad for an upcoming launch at Blue Origin. So educators, parents, spacekids.global, that's the website where you can find all the information. But you're working with a June 14th deadline to get some kids to sign up. Tell us about this opportunity that you have for them.
Well, like we said, space is for everyone, and we're going to need space reporters.
Yeah.
This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. There are 8 lucky kids across the U.S. Mm-hmm. They have to be U.S. students between the ages of 8 and 12, mm-hmm. and they will be able to submit their entries off of our website. We'll have a drawing June the 14th, but guess what these kids are going to have the opportunity to do?
What's that, Sharon?
It's a 2-day, all expense paid adventure to come to KSC, where they'll have their credentials as a space reporter. They'll go to Blue Origin's rocket facility here at Kennedy Space Center. Mm-hmm. They'll be able to do a behind-the-scenes tour of the rocket plant, where they'll be able to see where the new Glenn is being created. Mm-hmm. They'll interview rocket scientists, engineers, managers. They'll see all the different types of careers in the space industry. and they'll be able to watch our launch. Oh, did I mention I'm going back to space?
You are again?
So they'll have a live feed from Blue Origin's Mission Control out to our launch out in Van Horn, Texas. But they'll have a seat in Mission Control. So they'll be reporting on everything they've seen. They'll be talking to the astronauts on the crew. We'll interview them and see, what do you think a launch is about?
Yeah.
And then afterwards, how did it change their lives?
Yeah.
And then they'll come back to their local communities and report on it. And hopefully we'll get some local media as well.
Oh, I'm sure you will. And spacekids.global, that's where you can find out how to link, how to sign up for all that. You're going to pick 24 finalists, after that June 14th deadline, kind of randomly select them. Then the kids have to submit a 60-second video to explain, why they'd love to be part of that press squad. One of the things that I thought was most interesting about that is they're going to actually learn some great interview skills from some actual space reporters.
Yes, we've reached out to some real journalists here
Right.
locally.
Mhm.
And they are agreeing, depending on the space timing, as we all know,
Yep.
rocket science is difficult. If it were easy, everybody would do it.
Right.
But
Yeah.
they agreed to come out and teach the kids how you get to interview somebody on camera and how you get them to be enthusiastic. And that's why we want them to submit a 60-second video on the next round.
Yeah. And again, all these things can be found on that website, spacekids.global. Educators, parents, share this with the kids in your community, share this with families, the neighbors, anywhere you can, because for those 8 kids, this is a life transforming event. The opportunity to, like you said, Sharon, to be right there in mission control, to be right there, to see inside the factory where rockets are being made. It's going to help more kids understand that, like you mentioned before, it's not just the astronauts. There are thousands of people behind every single launch. And that's part of what we need to do as educators, and part of what you're trying to do as Space Kids Global.
One of the things I found so interesting about these new jobs and opportunities in the space industry is after our launch, we went over to the hangar and they have the parachute hanging, and they have a team that goes over, and their job is to untangle the cords of the parachute. Who would have ever thought of that? But it's a critical job.
Yeah. If that parachute doesn't work right, that could put a real damper on any mission to space. So yeah, so many different types of jobs that our kids often don't think about that are all involved in that space industry.
Someone told me just recently that 70% of the future jobs, there is no way that we can teach children and prepare them for it because we don't know what they are.
Right.
So it's going to be challenging for the teachers.
Yeah, it's challenging enough already. Just as an educator speaking, and I'm sure other educators listening, we know how tough it is. But the more that we can engage kids, and space is one of those things, STEM and STEAM and space topics, they get kids excited. And I'm sure you've seen that as you've worked with kids in schools, that when you put something hands-on in front of kids, they jump into it.
After our launch and I got back to Earth, I was presenting in a school, and a little girl came up to me and she goes, "Are you an astronaut?" And I said, "Yes." And she goes, "Can I be an astronaut?" And I think that's what this is all about, getting the kids excited. I became the 599th astronaut to cross over the Kármán line out of the 615 astronauts at that time, out of the 8 billion people that are on the planet. Mark, my husband, was the 600th. But more importantly, I was the 74th woman to cross over the Kármán line.
Yeah.
We need to change the statistics.
Yeah.
Part of our mission is not only to inspire the next generation in STEAM education, but ensure that girls are equally represented in the industry. And I think that's important, and I think it is changing.
Yeah, and it is changing. But so often I love sharing those space resources I come across, from NASA, from SpaceX and Blue Origin and things like that. And so many of those videos involve, here's somebody behind the scenes that's doing great stuff, great men, great women alike, working in those factories, coming up with the new ideas, figuring out how do we get those experiments to the space station, working on the space station, like you mentioned, both astronauts and those people behind the scenes. And I would guess that as you continue working with Space Kids Global, you've got some ideas, you've got some thoughts. Again, like you said, you want things to be a little more hands-on than just like was started back in the industrial age.
That's right. What we're trying to change with our hands-on projects is we want kids to be participators, not spectators.
Yeah.
And the only way to do that is have these really interesting, fun programs that they can apply to. So that's why they really need to take the time out and enter your forms so that they too can have a chance to see KSC, Blue Origin, and be part of the mission.
So parents, educators, hop on spacekids.global, click on the links and help that 8 to 12-year-old that you know to apply. And they're going to be picking some finalists to make some videos and announcing those winners on August 2nd. And guess what, educators, if you're listening past those deadlines, head to spacekids.global, find out more about the organization, see if they can find a way to help out you at your school. And who knows, maybe there'll be another one next year.
Yes, Chris, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. This has never been done that I know of, that astronauts are giving children around the country an opportunity to come and report on the launch. Normally, when astronauts have the chance to be launched into space, the first thing they do is they want to bring their family and friends. So this is a really unique opportunity. So please don't hesitate and sign up today.
Yeah, that's great. Again, really great talking with you, Sharon Hagel, businesswoman turned STEM education advocate, the founder of Space Kids Global. And yeah, everybody check out spacekids.global, find out more information, more resources, and get those kids signed up. And really appreciate what you're doing, Sharon, and all the best to you and all the best for this opportunity and for your next trip into space.
Thank you, Chris. Tell those kids space is waiting for them.
And again, thanks for listening to this episode, and find out information in the show notes and at dailystem.com.